Hi Valor Peak friends. So today I'm going to fill a barrel with light whiskey, but first I want to get it steamed on the still, which is basically rehydrating the wood and making sure there's no leaks or cracks in this. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. First things first is we got to start with a clean still, which I cleaned yesterday. And then we got to fill it with 60 gallons of water. So I'm going to put the hose in there and attach our water meter. Okay, and while that fills up, I'm gonna take you to the boiler room and show you how I turn on the whole system to get this heated up. Basically, this whole system is how we can heat up the still. So I gotta just turn it on, and it's gonna power up. You'll hear a click and a sound, and soon I should be able to hear the flame start shortly. Just taking a little bit longer today. All right, there we go, that's fired up. So when I go turn the still on, it has a heat source going. The still is now filled with about 60 gallons of water. So now I'm gonna actually turn this all on so that it heats up before we start steaming our barrel. So two things I have to do. I have to turn on the agitator, which helps spin the water around so that we don't get pockets of cold water and it heats up evenly. And then I also have to turn on the water condenser line so that as it heats up and water vapor goes through the still, that the condenser doesn't get too hot and it cools back down and will exit through the parrot. So we'll actually technically be distilling water while I'm steaming the barrel. So this lever here turns on our agitator, and then I have to turn the water condenser line on. And then this lever actually is the heat input for the still, why we turned on the boiler earlier. And I'm gonna put this a little bit over halfway while we heat up the water, and we'll turn it back down when we get ready to steam. All right, the still has turned over and started distilling the water. So now I know that it's up to temp. You can see it's kind of sweating here on the manual cover. It's sitting at about 165 degrees Fahrenheit, perfect temperature to start steaming this barrel. I'm actually gonna let the water just run down the drain because we're not collecting spirit. All right. So to steam a barrel, I got it all positioned right here. And I'm actually just gonna put a cone here for safety measure, just so that it doesn't roll over while it's expanding through steaming. So, got to open the barrel, take out the bung, and our still is pretty cool because it actually has an outside steaming jacket on it. So we can actually steam while we're doing cuts on the still, cleaning the still, etc. But it does have to be on to steam. So I'm gonna insert these hoses into the barrel, and then I turn this lever, and you can kind of see the steam coming out a little bit. And just because I like to be safe, I'm actually gonna put a little bit of a rag on top of it, so that when somebody walks through the door or I come over here, the steam isn't blasting anybody's face. Just like that. And we're gonna let this steam for probably a couple of hours. And then if it doesn't have any leaks and it's swollen up again, then we're gonna fill it with our light whiskey that we distilled last week. So we'll come back here in a little bit. Alrighty, so our light whiskey barrel, well, actually our Bardstown barrel that was filled with low rye is now been steamed and ready to get filled with our light whiskey hearts. So I have the pump here and the barrel here, so I'm just gonna hook it up. And we'll just turn the pump on and it should start filling our barrel. All right, our barrel is now filled with the light whiskey, so I gotta seal it back up before we put it in our barrel room. And now that it's sealed, I'll have to go print a new barrel tag for it, but it's gonna get racked and go age in our barrel room.